Okay, just last week we had strong jobs growth. Payrolls are up 177,000 in the States. That's beating expectations. They were looking for about 130,000. Also signs of easing of tension between US and China. China's trade discussions. Also, we found out that Japan was sort of trying to leverage its holding of US bonds to try and get a good trading deal from the US as well. But having said that, S&P rallied 1.5%. On the earnings front, we had mixed results. Apple shares slipped 3.75%, saying the tariffs are going to cost them about $900 million. And big news, OPEC over the weekend. It's basically going to release 2.2 million barrels of oil by November. Now, they've all sort of said that, and as a result of that, oil prices came off 1.5% on the weekend. And in the local front, landslide victory for Anthony Albanese and the Labor government as they gain a lot of seats, and Liberals, their lowest recording, 33 seats in history. So not very good for the Peter Dutton camp, and I think quite a bit of soul searching needs to be done, from the Liberal point of view. Okay, let's go back and have a look at, generally the US economy. Now, a lot of data's coming out. And that's sort of mixed, very mixed, but the equity markets are taking it as a very positive sign. And as you can see by the S&P rallying. Now, we are still short, and we'll talk about that a little bit later and reduce some of our positions. But I guess it's all going to take a little bit more time for this data to turn. We look at it, when you look at that number in jobs, 177,000, that's pretty positive. And I think those expectations, we did get wage growth, which was only up slightly. And I think when you look at wage growth being slightly, that's probably expected. But when you have a look at some of the other numbers, it's probably not that positive. But I do get some of the numbers. US manufacturing goods saw a dramatic increase of 4.3%. But I do think that a lot of this has come out of because the tariffs have been put in and people trying to buy things before the tariffs actually come. So we've got a bit of a false picture at the moment in terms of what the US economy actually looks like. And I think only time will tell before it actually starts to turn a little bit. So when you look at it, there's still some concerning things in the US that haven't been addressed, and that's why we're remaining relatively short. Because we still think that this is just more of an apparition, and we need a little bit more time to come through. Mind you, though, it's certainly rallying hard. There's no doubt about it, and when you look at it, you can see that that things are humming along okay, which is great. US construction spending also came out. That was declined a little, only by about 0.5%, so nothing too much there. But generally speaking, let's see, we've got more earnings reports coming out. Obviously, we saw Microsoft came out, and that was a negative one. Obviously, some big costs in terms of these tariffs. So I think that might come to roost, and we might see a lower price over time, but that's not to be the case at the moment. And I do see the deeper cracks there in the economy, which will start to open up over time. Okay, so there we have a look. Now, this week's going to be quite important. We have got quite a few things out at the moment. I do think we'll have focus on that, but let's have a quick look at what happened in the election. The 2025 Australian election, Anthony Albanese came in. They won 86 seats out of the 150 members of the House of Representatives. This is the first time since Federation that a Labor leader has increased the majority in consecutive terms. So that is quite interesting. I guess when you really look at it, who's out there to people to vote for, but people wanted to stick with it, so they did. Now, that dealt a major blow to the Dutton administration. And Peter Dutton also not only did he lose the leadership, but he also lost his long-held seat of Dixon. So a bit of a concern there. And I guess, if anything there, the politicking around the election was certainly won by Labor. And as a result of that, we've got another 4 years of Mr. Albanese. Let's see what happens from that. When you look through, Labor strengthened its presence in the Senate, increasing to 28 seats, while the coalition dropped 26. The Greens maintained their influence with 11 seats, and key independents such as Pocock, which we do like, retain their positions. David Pocock is somebody which we do like in the Senate, and he represents the ACTU, so quite positive. Okay, this week, market focus, tariff negotiations between US and China. That's going to be a bit of a key. We've got Federal Reserve's interest rate decision, and obviously subsequent remarks there from the Fed officials. Alongside that, we've still got quarter one earnings. And we've got the key data releases. We've got ISM services, PMI, foreign trade, and outside of the US, we've got interest rate decisions in the UK, Brazil, Poland, and Norway. Inflation data out of Switzerland, Turkey, Philippines, Mexico, and Brazil. So everything's going to be quite interesting.